It turns out Zana is hiding something from us, and the thing that she is hiding happens to be in some unassuming nodes in the hidden endgame Atlas tree. Now at first glance, these nodes don't really seem like anything too interesting. Extra Zana missions as well as the missions giving a few more options really doesn't seem to, cool at all. There's all these nodes over here talking about like Awakener gems from Cirrus, and Elder and Shaper fragments, and synthesized maps and stuff. Why would you ever want to choose these Zana nodes? They seem really bad. Well, it turns out after some testing that there is some ridiculous things that you can get from these Zana nodes. I have been farming these Zana missions for the last couple of days, and I have found that you can over double the amount of harvests that you get, as well as show tons of synthesized maps, including Cortexes. You can get things like Untainted Paradise, which gives you a ton of experience even in the high 90s. You can find Blighted maps, Delirium Mirrors, Legion Stones, and all kinds of Shaper and Elder maps. There's always something super useful from pretty much any set of Zana missions. Now in this video, we're going to go over my findings, we're going to talk about some ways that you can get more out of these Zana missions, and we're going to talk also about how you can sustain them almost indefinitely. So let's get into it. Hey guys, Big Ducks here, and welcome back to the channel. Now remember, if you're enjoying my content, make sure that you like this video so that you can see more of it. Some people actually don't get why I say that. However, the way that YouTube works is that if you do like a video, YouTube thinks that, well, you like that video, and it's going to suggest you more content similar to it. So I'm not just farming likes, I'm actually trying to tell you if you want to see more content like this, like the video so that you can. Also, over 75% of you are still not subscribed to this YouTube channel. So if you want to see more of specifically my content, make sure that you subscribe so these videos will show right up in your feed. Now without further ado, let's get back to the video. Alright boys, so we have a lot to talk about when it comes to these Zana missions, so let's start with how you actually get them and what we're really talking about here. In the middle of this atlas, once you complete one of these encounters, you will get access to an additional atlas tree. Now I talked about this in my other video, but this is called the Uncharted Realms. Now there's a bunch of cool nodes here, like there's some synthesis stuff, some Elder and Shaper Guardians, some Cirrus and Conqueror stuff. However, these Zana nodes here, at first glance, I didn't think that these would be too good. However, after doing some more investigating and testing on these, they're actually quite insane. Now, this first node is just areas have 5% chance to grant an additional Zana mission. That's pretty good. That means that out of like every maybe 100 maps that you do, you'll get 5 Zana missions, right? So that's pretty decent, but that's not going to be the main way that we sustain. It's just a node that you have to take to get to the good one. This node right here, Paths Not Taken, is the node that actually makes the difference. It says Zana missions and areas can have additional maps that can appear in the map options. And it also says Zana missions and areas have double the number of map options. Something interesting about that, with this node, you get all kinds of Zana missions. I get anywhere from like 15 to 20 different maps offered to me every single time I see Zana. Now, as you saw in the intro, this can include like harvest maps, this can include Shaper and Elder Guardians, it can include Cortex or other synthesis maps, Untainted Paradise, all kinds of unique maps. There's a ton of stuff that can actually show up here. Now, the main thing that we're going to be looking for are harvest maps. However, like I said, Cortex is pretty useful, Shaper and Elder Guardians are pretty useful, but there are a few things that I do want to talk about because you may get misled a little bit. Say that you get something like a Legion Monolith mission and it says complete the Legion Monolith, right? And it's in a map that's in New Vastir. So you're going to notice that there are a bunch of really good nodes on New Vastir talking about legions. However, from my testing and what I found is that the mods here don't actually work from a Zana mission. It seems like even if the map is in the New Vastir zone, I saw this a few times, but it didn't seem like they were working. I saw a bunch of sergeants and they didn't actually have the reward symbol above their head. I'm not 100% certain about this, but from what I have seen, it does not look like the actual nodes of the map work from the Zana missions. So what that means is that I'm going to suggest that you do not choose ones, like say you see like a New Vastir Dunes map and it says do the Legion Monolith. You might be thinking, oh, I could get a lot out of that, but it doesn't actually seem to work. Now let's talk about where we're actually going to be farming these, and that is going to be in Hayward Hamlet. Now the reason is the main thing we're looking for are harvest missions. That is the main goal of these Zana missions, to get more harvest missions, to be able to do more crafting, be able to do more cool stuff. Main reason being is that we have these nodes here that give us an additional chance to find the Grove. It gives us rarer options, and it also does give us 100% increased chance to gain tier 4 plants. There's some nice tier 4 plants out there. Alternatively, there is the Lex Proxima nodes, which do have harvest nodes in them as well. It gives you double bonuses to item quantity and rarity, has a additional harvest in it, as well as Sacred Grove in areas has 100% chance to contain a Heart of the Grove. We don't actually want that. Heart of the Grove is pretty bad, and 10% 50% chance for an unchosen crop not to wilt. I don't think this is as good. These harvest nodes are not as good as these ones, I would say. I would say the 5% additional chance is literally doubling how often you'll see natural harvests. I would suggest Haywork Hamlet. Now that we've talked about what we're looking for, what you can find, and how to do it, let's talk about actually sustaining these missions, and then we'll talk about some higher end options to be able to help you with performing a little bit better. So the main ways that we're going to be sustaining these missions are either through the map device, meaning that just getting the natural missions from Zana. You can see I've got 26 red Zana missions here. I have literally just been spamming these constantly, not worried about it one bit, just going. I hover anywhere from 20 to 40 depending on how lucky or unlucky I get. You should be able to just straight spam these. I personally have been doing it on atoll maps. I think I might actually be out though. No, I have a few. I've been doing these on a toll map, so I'm going to show you real quick what it looks like to actually do a Zana mission real quick. We're just going to quality this up. We're going to hit it with a random alchemy. It's going to be elemental reflect, which I can't do. Okay, so this is fine. The mods don't really matter. This character is capable of doing pretty much whatever I want. I do suggest that you use Sextants and roll these maps like you would any other map. I don't want you to think that this is like the main focus of what you should be doing. It's just adding it as an extra layer to your normal mapping strategy. You should still be running higher tier maps. You should still be qualitying them. You should still be rolling them well. You should still be trying to use fragments and things like that. But we're not going to do any of that right now, just so I can show you what it actually looks like. So we're going to open up this mission here. Now, the reason that I chose Atoll is simply because it has a very straightforward 100% consistent layout, and Zana normally spawns right here in the entrance. So Zana here, we're going to clear out real fast. This is the elemental hit Deadeye. I made a video about that recently if you're interested in what this build is. And when we talk to her, we're going to see she gives us a crap load of missions. Now keep in mind, I have watchstones that increase the amount of missions that we get here, but the idea is that we're looking for harvest. Now harvest isn't going to show up every single time that you jump into here, but you're going to see we already got the Twilight Temple as a unique map. We got a Shaper map here, but what you're going to do is down here in the bottom, it's going to tell you what the mission actually is. We're going to click through and see what we get. Delirium Mirrors, Warbands, Breaches, Legion Monolith, Harbingers, Divination Cards, Samples Warband, and we did not get a harvest map this time. However, that's basically what you're going to do. You're going to be going through here looking for harvest maps. Sometimes you can get upwards of like 3 harvest maps. I suggest that you probably just choose an easier one so that you don't have to worry about, you know, dying to some of the harvest mobs. They can be pretty dangerous. But things like this, you would choose like the Twilight Temple, or you'd choose the Shaper map just so that you can get that Shaper fragment. And then you would go about your way, do the rest of the map like normal. The interesting thing about Atoll is that this map is actually consistent. If you go to the right here, and then cut all the way around, kill the boss, and then go to the left through the middle, and then take the actual left path, you can 100% clear this map without any backtracking. That's the reason that I have personally been doing this map. I'm not going to finish this because there's not really anything for you to see there. Invest in the maps as much as you can, like your normal mapping strategy, just so that you can make that extra money. However, the Zana missions are going to be the main thing that's giving you a whole bunch of stuff. So now one of the main ways that you are going to be able to sustain these Zana map missions is going to be through Harvest itself. There is a red bulb called a Wild Bristle Matron that allows you to sacrifice maps to be able to get 3 of a certain kind of mission. Now these will show up for Zana, these will show up for all of the different masters. However, I suggest that you sacrifice red maps to get as many Zana missions as you can. They aren't super common, but they do show up a decent amount. The other way that you'll do this is just the natural way that you get master missions. You run a whole bunch of maps and you naturally get those missions. Something you can do, however, is you can look into these new watchstones that we have here, where it says randomly encountered masters in areas have 85% increased chance to be Zana, and then also have master missions from completing maps of 85% increased chance to be Zana. So what you can do is you can get like, say, 4 of these that have these increased chance to be Zana, and you can put them in something like New Vastir if this is your alternate farming area. You want to have 2 separate areas to be farming here. So on top of Haywork Hamlet, you can do like New Vastir for the Legion stuff. You could do like Lexajoris for these Delirium nodes, which are pretty good. If you wanted to do Valdo's Rest, even though I personally really don't like the farming in Valdo's Rest, the Harbinger nodes are okay. You can make some pretty good currency there. You can choose any other zone that you do want to farm. Get a bunch of these Zana nodes on the Titanium Watchstone. It has to be the Titanium one. And just fill out 4 of those. These typically sell for about 10 to 15C each most of the time, just the random Titanium Watchstones. I couldn't tell you how much they're going to be for your particular zone, maybe more or less. But you can fill these in, put a whole bunch of the ones that say encounter Zana missions, and then just run them, and you will get a ton of Zana missions over time. Now, as I said, they do naturally kind of fill themselves in over time. I hover anywhere from like 20 to 40 most of the time. Just make sure that you are choosing those Zana sacrifice a map to gain Zana mission rolls whenever you do get them out of Harvest. Now, the other thing here is there is actually a way to massively boost how often you're going to get good maps out of this. However, it is quite expensive. This is something that I've invested into. I actually got lucky and rolled 2 of these myself, but there are watchstones that will say Zana missions in areas have 1 additional map option. These, as of right now, are about an Exalt each. I rolled 2 of them. I got quite lucky. I bought the bases and rolled 2 of them in about like 100, maybe 125 alteration orbs. If you do grab these, keep in mind there is one that says +2 to additional map options, but that one's like 10 Exalt each. I don't think that's worth it in my opinion. I'm personally not going to spend 40 Exalt just to have 4 additional map options, but the idea is that Zana missions in areas have 1 additional map option. If you run 4 of these, that is 4 more chances that you have to grab Harvest or like a Cortex map or something else that you're looking for. So I personally, since I'm doing a lot of invested running in these maps in this area, I did buy 2 of them and roll 2 of them. So that is a way that you can massively increase the amount that you're going to get here. The last thing that you might be asking yourself is like, why would I want to do this? So harvest crafting is one of the most powerful things in this game. If you played in Harvest League, you probably know that. I personally have just been spamming through harvest crafts, trying to craft this staff among a couple other things. I have a bow here that I've been crafting on for this character, but spamming through harvest crafts is a very good way if you sell them like on the TFT Discord or things like that to just make a ton of currency. So with this method, you are actually going to be able to double, sometimes even triple the amount of harvest that you see. It really just comes up to RNG. One day I was getting like, I don't know, like every other Zana mission was giving me a harvest, whereas another day I got like maybe 1 out of 5. It's just kind of RNG, unfortunately. But they do show up quite often. You can get streaks of none and you can get streaks of a bunch in a row, but when you add this into your normal Atlas strategy, this can be an excellent way to make a ton of currency. TLDR, make sure that you're running those Zana missions. If you run out of Zana missions, you can just run another area, maybe with these watchstones that say encountered masters have an increased chance to be Zana and increased chance to give you Zana missions in like New Vestir or something like that, right? So that's pretty much going to be it for the guide. Just make sure to remember that the harvest missions can actually be quite dangerous, especially if you're running very high investment maps. If you do get the Zana mission one, it's just going to have whatever mods are of the mission that you get, so do keep that in mind. The tier 4 plants do show up quite often. The tier 4 bosses can be pretty rough if your DPS is not up to par, so just keep in mind they are very, very strong. You can make a ton of currency either selling crafts or using them on your own items. I've been crafting a lot of my own items just because I think that that's fun for me. So seeing a bunch more harvest missions is really, really cool. And that is going to be the end of the guide. Now remember guys, if you have any further questions about the strategy or anything else, make sure that you join my Discord. It is linked down in the description below this video, and I'd be really happy if you come and be part of the community. So I hope that you give this strategy a try. It has given me a ton of harvest, a ton of currency, a ton of synthesized maps, and a whole bunch of cool stuff. So remember guys, if you enjoy my content, make sure that you like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel for more content similar to this, and stay safe out there in raid class. And I'll see you guys in the next video.